First of all, let me get something straight. This is a video journal, not a video essay. I know what it says on the cover, but when Mom told me to make this video, I specifically told her to get one that didn't say, "I make video essays in my basement." All I need is for some jerk to catch me writing this script out and get the wrong idea. So now that that is out of the way, why don't we address why you even clicked on this video in the first place? Let me tell you a story, dear viewer. One that twists and turns its way through the most insane part of, well, all of our lives. Middle school.
No! No!
You see, in this video journal, I'm going to discuss how Jeff Kinney and the smelly middle school world he illustrated inadvertently raised an entire generation of kids like me. So, it is time that we go back to the memories we all repressed, the ones textured with breakfast-stained book pages and terrible do-it-yourself drawings. It is time that we address how we all have... You know what? I'll just let the title sequence say it.
It was Roderick! He woke me up!
Own childhood was the inspiration and continues to be.
2020 stinks.
It's about time, little bro, that you learn the secrets to an easy life.
If you are anything like me, you probably don't think about middle school all that much. Perhaps you don't remember the culture that surrounded you during that time, one that continues to be sought after in various entertainment mediums. Unfortunately, I remember a good amount of my middle school days.
More videos are going to be coming out soon. Sorry, I have not uploaded a lot yet. I've been really busy.
They were cluttered with surprisingly difficult classes, way too many kids, and just the right amount of body odor to create an environment that embodied, why are we even here in the first place, perfectly. I had tumultuous friendships, ridiculously awkward relationships, and most of all, I felt like I was slightly terrified every single day. Because for some reason, maybe from keeping too many 12-year-old monkeys in a cage for too long, there always seemed to be some event going on. I'm not talking about football games or assemblies, no. I'm talking about the absolute shitstorm that revolved its way through all of our middle school lives. There were fights, breakups, gummy bears cooked in microwaves for 10 minutes, fire alarms pulled, and even teachers throwing chairs at students.
Fuck! No, my God!
Yes, that seriously happened at my school. To be honest, I don't even blame them. This time in school was one that everyone just wanted to forget about. Except for Jeff Kinney.
If you just thought about your day today, I'll bet you could find 5 things that would end up in a Wimpy Kid-like book. You know, if you just think of the things that go wrong. They always say that comedy is tragedy plus time, right?
It is remarkable that somehow, in some way, this book series was successful. We all want to forget about middle school, so why has it sold millions of copies around the world?
Okay there, all clean.
I'm only 3.
And you'll never live to see 4.
The Diary of a Wimpy Kid series somehow harnesses this shitstorm of middle school and applies it into drawings that still hold up to this day. You need no introduction to Greg Heffley and his quarrels. He has become one of the most popular cartoon drawings in history. His slouched demeanor, signature 3 tufts of hair, and stupidly simple design have made their way onto your childhood bookshelf and likely still lie there dormant. That was the fate of mine, all the way up until about 2 days ago. There I was, sitting there, you know, being a road sign, when I saw a reposted photo of... What the fuck is the Manny Cave? Which then reminded me of this book series and how I almost forgot about it, which then led me to finding this book again and opening it up for the first time in probably a decade. I wasn't sure what I was expecting to find, but what I found amongst the pages was surprisingly entertaining, and not just that, but accurate as well. Which got me wondering, how on earth did Jeff Kinney achieve this? How are these stupid fictional interactions holding weight in my own life when I simply thought of these books as entertainment and nothing more? Turns out, I think I figured out the answer. But in order for us to understand why Diary of a Wimpy Kid really is still great after all these years, we need to know a bit more about its creator.
My name is Jeff.
Jeff Kinney grew up in Maryland, attending middle school at Eugene Burroughs. The school itself isn't too important, being just another unremarkable school in the US, just like mine. There was no special origin story for him either. Kinney would go on hoping to make a living at being a cartoonist for a newspaper, being featured in the University of Maryland's newspaper throughout his studies, and then followed up by having his work rejected by a number of publishers. Sitting at the end of his college career, and spite of his failures, Kinney decided to start writing a book. As he puts it on his website, quote, "It was meant to be a sort of nostalgia piece, reflecting on what it was like to be in middle school." Okay, time out for a second. If you wrote an essay right now about middle school, yes, you watching this, how long do you think it would be? 2 pages? 5? Maybe even 10? You want to know how long Kinney's was? Roughly 1,300 pages long. Now, call me crazy, but I've never considered writing a reflective piece about middle school ever in my life. Okay, well now I have, but this video isn't 1,300 pages long, so shut up. After reading this statement, it reframed my entire perception of what the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series has turned into. It is likely that we had a similar opinion, that, as of late, Diary of a Wimpy Kid certainly has gotten stale. After 19 books being published, a couple movies, a TV show, and a couple more spin-offs as well, Diary of a Wimpy Kid has effectively created its own entertainment multiverse. But what is even more crazy to think about is that I don't think Jeff Kinney simply just started pumping out lesser and lesser content simply because he wanted to make more money. From what it sounds like, this dude had a lot of thoughts about middle school. We don't exactly know what all is fictional and non-fictional in his stories, but I can sure as hell say that if this guy could write a 1,300-page reflection on his middle school experience, he could write stories about being in middle school until the literal heat death of the universe. Now that we are a good amount of time into this video, it might be time for me to actually discuss why this book series is eternal. As always, it comes down to 3 things: design, storytelling, and of course, nostalgia. Without further ado, let's talk about this stupid art style. As soon as you open this book, it is extremely clear that a middle schooler is writing and illustrating everything. From the use of an easy-to-read, handwritten font to the crude drawings of middle school interactions, each page conveys with it a sort of blank slate. What I mean by that is that by keeping everything on the page simple, it is much easier for the reader to start to identify with Greg Heffley, especially if they are around middle school age. This book doesn't look too far off from something you would write yourself at that age. Hell, I probably wrote something like this at some point. Compared to other books of its time and this style, it is immediately clear what stands out first and foremost. A middle schooler's life isn't created with 12-point Times New Roman. As I write this essay and sift through these pages, the effect this art style has on me is shockingly addicting. With hindsight bias, I mostly just figured I enjoyed these books because of their stupid humor, extremely memorable characters, and laid-back plot structure. Although all of these points I still believe are true, I am also finding just how prominent a sense of flow is within these pages. The drawings help tell a story in a way where it isn't just transporting you into another world, but actually into someone else's life. The doodles themselves are just the right amount of descriptive while being offered at just the right time to help paint the picture Greg is telling us. What Jeff Kinney did with just a few curvy lines on a lined piece of paper is something many of us have taken for granted, including myself. I loved these books at the time because they appealed to me and what I was going through in middle school. I love these books now because they perfectly illustrate that quintessential era of my life and serve as a time capsule for a period of time I thought I wanted to forget about. As I continue to read through these pages, however, I am finding that being reminded of the stupid things that happened in middle school have helped provide some sort of comfort that maybe this time in my life wasn't actually a complete waste of time. I just can't stop laughing at how accurate this story is.
This place is an intellectual wasteland. It all starts in middle school, you know.
You're not gonna tell me what I'm gonna do and not do?
I am now the alpha.
You're not a kid anymore. This place is a glorified holding pen.
But what does an oddball such as myself consider manly? My Little Pony, friendship is magic.
Okay, well, sounds like you got it all figured out. So, go back to your book.
It would take an obscene amount of time to discuss all of the memorable adventures Greg Heffley goes upon throughout this book series. From joining the wrestling team to breaking Rowley's hand to having a sleepover with Fregley, each side plot that carries him throughout the school year perfectly snapshots the ridiculous things that would happen to us in middle school. For example, I remember sitting at a table with my friends during lunch, and this one kid always sitting with us that, look, I'll give him credit, he was really funny, but always seemed to cause trouble. Especially when I was there. So there we are, sitting and killing time, when out of nowhere, he grabs an apple off of my lunch tray and just launches it across the cafeteria. I'm talking Mach 7 levels of speed, and it just slammed into the opposite wall. Amidst all the chaos of people talking in the lunchroom, nobody seemed to actually notice, except, of course, the janitor. In hindsight, I felt really bad for her, but on this day, she was my worst enemy. So she strolls right up to our table, points at me, and asks me why I threw the apple. I told her I didn't throw it, and she insisted that it was me. So I stood my ground, and I ended up in lunch detention. I know this story doesn't have quite the flair of what would happen at other people's schools, which, by the way, please leave your stories in the comments so I have good entertainment later. But this interaction is one that certainly feels like it belongs in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Let's be honest here, though. These books aren't flawless. This storytelling, although relatable, does have a severe caveat. We all grew up. Greg Heffley didn't. If you have watched any other video essay about Diary of a Wimpy Kid on this platform, it is likely that the idea of Greg Heffley being a psychopath/terrible person has been brought up before. It is also likely that you have heard how the films remedied this fault in the plot structure of the books, which is a point I completely agree with. As time goes on and you read more of the series, it is apparent that Greg Heffley is truly just the problem with everything. As much as he is relatable, he's also flawed to a point where you start to wonder if he is just the antagonist of this entire Wimpy universe. What the films did by taking this flawed character, still having him keep the flaws, but allowing him to grow from those flaws, is truly something remarkable found within book adaptation history. All of a sudden, Greg Heffley grew up with us, and that was a powerful feeling. But I think the person who hasn't gotten nearly enough credit for how he impacted this book's legacy, truly making it eternal, is Theodore Shapiro. Just listen to this music and how it is just the right amount of quirky, nostalgic, and fast-moving to help depict a time of life that fits all of those adjectives. The use of a slightly out-of-tune piano weirdly enough shows similarity to what C418 did with Volume Alpha, creating a subtle texture of nostalgic timbre that overlays over the main theme of the movie. When I hear this simple melody, it takes me back so quickly to my middle school days. It's flawed, it's rugged, it just has life in it. If you listen to other pieces from the original soundtrack, you'll find how this theme is changed slightly to fit whatever emotions Greg Heffley is feeling at the time, either it being frantically getting ready in the morning or reuniting with his best friend at the end of the film. Without this music being this good, I don't think anyone is talking about how these films are secretly nostalgic masterpieces. After hearing the soundtrack, it helped me provide more emotion towards the original series and cementing it into my long-term memory. At this point, I don't even need to pick up the original books to feel that nostalgia for middle school, nor even re-watch the movies, which I still do from time to time because they're awesome. I honestly can just simply listen to the soundtrack and be taken back to a time that was just the right amount of chaotic to keep things interesting. I certainly don't miss much about middle school. I don't miss the awkwardness, the class schedules, nor the food.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
But one thing I do miss was the sheer entertainment provided every single day. I got so caught up in not trying to think about middle school that I completely forgot what made middle school bearable in the first place. Chaos. To be honest, my life is not that chaotic right now, at least not on the level it was back then, and I'm okay with that for the most part, but sometimes in college, I really do wish someone would go microwave a gummy bear just to see what would happen, just to make things interesting. You know, as I sit here on the tail end of revisiting this series, it is incredible how Jeff Kinney got me to feel nostalgia for Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Nostalgia is a funny thing, an emotion that can't be forced but is a driving force of creation. Without nostalgia for the past, how are we to gain inspiration for the future? It seems that this channel has begun to find its niche, discussing the various realms of nostalgia and how they impact us in different ways. At first, it may seem that there's only so much to discuss with such a powerful emotion. As I previously iterated in a video, it's hollow. But here's the thing. Nostalgia ebbs and flows just like our own present interests. I'm not constantly nostalgic for Minecraft, just as I'm not constantly nostalgic for middle school. But when I am, those emotions sometimes are overwhelming to the point where I have to get my thoughts down onto paper. I have to create, I have to share that feeling. As we grow up, continue to see new trends, continue to find our passions, and continue to try and figure out this world we live in, it is important to feel those overwhelming emotions of the past. Without feeling, I wouldn't be able to recite the first page of Diary of a Wimpy Kid from memory. Just like Jeff Kinney, who, without feeling those emotions of the past, never would have written this book series in the first place. Without this art style, I never would have gone through middle school with a book that offered an escape into the very world I was occupying. Without this story, I never would have gotten to read a book that honestly understood me more than anybody else, in a time of my life where I had so many more questions than answers. Without this flawed nostalgia, I never would have thought about these books again after reading them. Diary of a Wimpy Kid may not be perfect, but whether we like it or not, it is eternal. Would you look at that? Looks like this did turn into a video essay. Zoo wee mama.